All right, I'm the Flat Rate Master, and today we're talking about which Milwaukee tools should you buy if you can only buy one. All right, so first off, I'm kind of stealing the idea from Brian from How To Automotive. So, hi Brian. Not really, I've been meaning to do this kind of video for a while, but he posted one and I was like, yeah, I really need to do that video because these are the most asked questions I get as far as Milwaukee tools is, I can only afford one, so which of XYZ should I get first? Or which one should I get? So I'm going to go through pretty much all the main automotive tools. I'm not going to do drills or, obviously construction because this isn't a construction channel, but we're going to talk about what's best suited for what, your style, what you do for work, and what's going to best fit you, not me. So first off, we're going to go oldie but goodie. Should I buy a high torque or a mid torque? And this is a question I get a lot. Now the thing about the mid torques is I put their power level about the strength of an IR 231 air tool. So decent, not great. And when it comes down to it, if you can only buy one, I would not choose the mid torque. Now the mid torque is a nice addition to the high torque because obviously it's lighter, it's smaller, a little more handy, but it's not something I would recommend as your only impact. If you can only get one, I would definitely go towards the high torque. Whether or not you get one key or not is entirely up to you. We'll get into the mid torques a little bit later, but next up is the ratchets. Should I get the extended? Should I get the standard? Should I get 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/8? Or should I get the new right angle impact? I'm gonna bulk all these into one simply because how I use them now versus, in the past. For me and what I do, and again, for me, the number one ratchet I use is actually the 1/4 inch. I do drivability for the most part, so I take out a lot of solenoids, vent valves, stuff like that. So, a lot of M6 fasteners. I use this a lot for those. And so for me, this is the best choice. Not saying it's going to be the best choice for you. If you're doing a lot of alternators and starters and brakes and stuff like that, I would definitely more recommend the 3/8 extended. Why? More power, bigger selection on sockets. You're less likely to be wrenching and try to, break the drive on it. Just a better all-around tool for what most technicians do. And again, we're talking one tool. You can only buy one tool right now. So obviously you're not running out and buying the whole gamut. Now the right angle impact. How come I'm not recommending this over the ratchet? Well, honestly, that head. It's got a good bit of power, but it doesn't ratchet. So if it doesn't take it loose, you can't just go and ratchet it off and then hit the button. You actually got to get a different tool. And the size of the head is an issue on certain applications. It just is. Either you're getting the extension or you are not fitting the tool in there. This is not a knock at Milwaukee. The right angle impacts from everybody are about this size or a little bit bigger. I haven't seen any that are really smaller. So it's going to be a very situational tool whether or not you can use it. Now, when you can use it, it does well, but it's not going to do as much as the 3/8 ratchet. So for most people, I'm going to recommend the extended 3/8 ratchet. Now the standard ones, they're good. In some situations, you kind of got to grab them because the extended doesn't fit where you need it to go just in size. You know, sometimes you just can't get that whole honking mess in there. So definitely something to consider. Obviously the standard one is going to be shorter, give you less leverage, but it might fit your needs a little bit better than the extended. But for me, the most part, I grab the extended. All right, stubby impacts. Now in this one, we're only going to talk about the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch. We're not going to talk about the 1/4 inch because we're going to put it with the impact driver, you know, because it's more suited to that category than comparing it against a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch. Now for me, the 3/8 is the one I grab mostly. Now when I do brakes, I use the 3/8 for the caliper slide bolts. You know, however the actual calipers held on, those bolts, I use the 3/8. And rather than switch sockets, I use the 1/2 inch for the caliper bracket and swivel sockets for the most part. For you, that might be different. If you're doing more suspension work, more brakes, like for instance, Eric, he definitely says this is the one to go with. He takes wheels off with this, and his daily is the 1/2 inch. But for me, a lot of the stuff I do, I use the 3/8 for a lot of the stuff I do. So again, your mileage is going to vary on what you do, what's going to suit your needs. Now honestly, I know it's rated at the same, but I swear the 1/2 inch hits harder than the 3/8. So something to consider. Now obviously I've got the bigger battery on it. That might have something to do with it. Maybe it's just perception, but in recap, for most people, I would probably say, you know, unless you're wanting something to take wheels off that's light, that aren't stupid over torqued, then the 1/2 inch might be your option. But for general, I recommend the 3/8. And as far as the ratchets, I don't recommend the 1/2 inch. On the impact, 1/2 inch probably wouldn't be a bad thing, but on the ratchet itself, I don't recommend the 1/2 inch for most people. Stubby 1/4 inch versus stubby impact driver. Now for me, I use my 1/4 inch a lot. In fact, I have the stubby and the old generation in my roll cart. That's how much I use them. I put different sockets on there and just grab a different tool when I need to use them. Obviously, if you can only afford one tool, that's not an option for you. So this one is a pretty easy recommendation for people, and I kind of did a video on this a while ago, so I'm not going to go real in depth, but if you can only buy one, impact driver. You can put bits in it, or you can put a driver attachment on it and use sockets. You know, a little bit less power, but much more versatile, much better for if you can only get one tool. So I hope you liked my buying guide for Milwaukee tools. As always, thanks for watching. I am the Flat Rate Master.